Hi, boys and girls. Remember, today we are still in the southern hemisphere of the planet, where the season is opposite to what we are experiencing here. Well, and today we're going to read another book about New Zealand, and this one is called New Zealand's ABCs, a book about the people and places of New Zealand. And I don't know, but some of you may know that I'm actually from New Zealand. I moved here to the United States when I was 24, but until then, I lived in New Zealand and was called a Kiwi. And this book is written by Holly Schroeder and illustrated by Clara Wolf. Huh. Sailing is a really big thing in New Zealand. A lot of people have boats. And here's one of my favorite fruits to eat, a kiwi fruit. Do you like to eat kiwi fruit? Some people do. Some people find it a bit sour. Ugh, but it's very good for you. Here is our title page. It has some Maori design borders on this page. You're going to learn about the Maoris in this book. They're our native peoples. Here's a map of New Zealand, and also this is where it is on the globe, way down the bottom. Next stop, South Pole, Antarctica. Wave to the penguins. Hello! A. A is for Aotearoa. About 1,200 years ago, a group of Pacific Islanders left their land and paddled their canoes south. They came upon a large island where no people were living. They named their new home Aotearoa, land of the long white cloud. B. B is for Britain. New Zealand has close ties to Great Britain. Captain James Cook, a British explorer, sailed to New Zealand in his ship Endeavour. He became the first European to land on the country. C. C is for carving. The original settlers, the Maori, carved the canoes that allowed them to travel to their new home. The Maori have since become famous for their beautiful wooden carvings. D. D is for dollar. The New Zealand dollar is the country's basic unit of money. It is made up of 100 cents. New Zealand dollars come in 5, 10, 20, 50, and $100 bills. Coins range from 5 cents to $2. And our money is different colors and different sizes, so it's really easy to tell which dollar bill is which. E. E is for earthquakes. A typical year in New Zealand has about 100 earthquakes, strong enough to be felt. The worst one was in 1931, when 256 people died. New Zealand has become one of the strictest laws in the world about how houses can be built. Builders have to be very careful to design homes that will last through a bad earthquake. F. F is for flag. New Zealand's flag was adopted in 1902. In the upper left corner is a small British flag. This shows that New Zealand is still part of the British Commonwealth. The 4 stars show the Southern Cross. G. G is for geysers. New Zealand is one of only 3 countries in the world that have geysers. The other 2 countries are the United States and Iceland. Geysers are explosions of hot water from deep inside the earth. H. H is for hemisphere. New Zealand is in the southern half of the globe. We call this the southern hemisphere. It is also one of the closest countries to the international dateline, so they are the ones that see the new day first. I. I is for islands. Two huge islands, the North Island and the South Island, make up most of New Zealand. Scattered around are 141 other islands. J. J is for jumping. Thrill seekers from around the world travel to New Zealand to bungee jump off tall towers, bridges, and cliffs. Mrs. Clapp has only done it once, and that was enough. K. K is for kiwi. The kiwi is a round, fuzzy bird that can't fly. It lives only in New Zealand. New Zealanders must have a sense of humor because they like to call themselves kiwi after a strange bird. And there's also a fuzzy brown fruit called the kiwi fruit. L. L is for Lake Taupo. Lake Taupo is New Zealand's largest lake. The majestic lake fills a crater that was made by one of the biggest volcanic eruptions in history. It's a really nice lake, and some parts of the lake has warm water. The warm water bubbles out from under the ground and you can sit in it and it's nice. It's like being in a warm bathtub. M. M is for Maori. The Maori were the first people to live in New Zealand, but at one point in the country's history, it looked as if the Maori culture would die out. Since the 1970s, the Maori people have worked hard to keep their heritage alive. And we speak Maori in some of our classes in school, and we sing a lot of traditional songs and celebrate in a lot of the celebrations. N. N is for nuclear free. In 1984, the New Zealand government passed an important law. The law said the country would not let any ships carrying nuclear weapons into the ports. So we have a nuclear-free policy to help keep our nation peaceful. O. O is for ocean. The ocean has acted like a big fence around New Zealand. It has kept many of the country's plants and animals from growing anywhere else in the world. P. P is for Parliament. People in New Zealand don't vote for a president. Instead, they elect 120 members of Parliament. Members in Parliament elect the Prime Minister, who is the country's most powerful ruler. And this building here is our parliamentary building, and it's called the Beehive. Can you guess why it's called the Beehive? Yeah, it's kind of shaped like a beehive. Q. Q is for Queenstown. Queenstown offers all kinds of attractions for New Zealand's many tourists. Adventure seekers can go rafting down a wild river. History buffs can visit historic buildings and the gold mining towns. Tourism is one of New Zealand's most important industry. Tourism means that people come for holidays and vacations to spend time having fun in the country. It's very important for our economy to have lots of tourists. R. R is for rugby. Rugby is New Zealand's national sport. The sport is a combination of soccer and American-style football. It is New Zealand's favorite game. Members of the national team, the All Blacks, are considered national heroes. We love playing rugby all around the world, trying to win the Rugby's World Cup. S. S is for sheep. From a distance, herds of sheep sometimes look like patches of snow against New Zealand's green land. The country has more than 39 million sheep. That's about 10 sheep for every person. New Zealand is the world's third largest producer of wool. T. T is for the Treaty of Waitangi. The treaty is an agreement between the Maori chiefs and the British. It was signed in 1840 and it made Great Britain's Queen Victoria the leader of New Zealand. That's why we are part of the British Commonwealth. U. U is for umu. Maori cook special feasts in umus or underground ovens. They steam packets of meat and vegetables in three shallow pits covered with wet towels and dirt. Cooking in an umu takes all day, but a big group of guests makes this special meal worth the trouble. So we dig a big hole, put really hot rocks or hot pieces of iron in the bottom, layer some leaves and a bit of soil over it, then put the food, then layer some towels and then some soil over the top and leave it in there to steam and get all cooked and yummy. So that heat, that hot temperature changes it to a food product that we can eat. V. V is for voting. In 1893, New Zealand became the first country in the world to allow women to vote. It is also the first country to give pension checks to retired people. So voting is very important in New Zealand, and we value making sure that everybody has a say in the system. W. W is for Wellington. When New Zealand was first settled by the British, they put the capital city in Auckland. Auckland is at the top of the North Island. Later, the capital city changed to Wellington because it's in the middle of the country. X. X is for extinct. Sometimes all animals of a certain kind die. When that happens, we say the animal is extinct. New Zealand was once home to the largest bird in the world called the moa. It grew to 12 feet tall. That's really tall. When people came to New Zealand, they hunted the moa and destroyed its habitat. The moa has been extinct for hundreds of years. That's pretty sad for the moa. Would have been great to see one alive. Y. Y is for yacht. The most famous yacht race in the world takes place in New Zealand. The boat that won the first race in 1851 was called America. Since then, the race has been known as the America's Cup. New Zealand's boat, Black Magic, won the race in both 1995 and in the year 2000. New Zealanders like to sail. Z. Z is for zone, God's zone. Many New Zealanders affectionately call their country God's Zone. God's Zone is short for God's own country. New Zealanders say their country is so beautiful, it must be God's favorite place. So, now you've learned a little bit of information about New Zealand. One of the things that they talked about in the book was earthquakes. And an earthquake happens when the plates of the earth rub together or pull apart together or push one another and the ground shakes. So we're going to do some science that deals with earthquakes. So scroll on down and watch a little demonstration about earthquakes. And then I want you to make a prediction about what you think might happen in an earthquake.